Hello. Hello. This is Melissa with the Amazon Academy, bringing the very first Q&A for the seasons, the My Yoga Seasons practice, which is our foundational level. And so this is the Q&A for first summer, which is centered in Manipura chakra. So here, from the belly button to the solar plexus, all the way around in the stem. And the element here is fire. I have my little salt lamp, fire right below the camera. And so fire in the belly. And the color is yellow. I don't have a lot of yellow. This is sort of the only piece of yellow I have. So I'm wearing a dress, which is kind of funny with doing yoga. So we'll see how that goes. It looks like somebody is here and I'm figuring out how to use this. Okay. So if you have any questions, that's what this is for. And I have some things that I'm going to talk about, ramble on about until or if any questions come in from you. So let's get going. I have set myself up by the wood. This camera's backwards, so I have to turn myself around. And wood is what we burn. So this fire element again. And I've coordinated in aligning the energy centers, the chakras, with the seasons of the year. I've coordinated Manipura with this time of year in the southern hemisphere. So those of you in the northern hemisphere have to sort of flip things around. But for us here, when this first summer started, it was the solstice. So around the 21st, 22nd of December, depending on the year. And so that's the zenith of the sun, when it's at its highest point. And that's when we have the longest day, the most fire, the most life force, because the sun is such a life-giving force. It's what keeps us warm. It's what grows our food. It's essential. And so in our bodies, then this fire of digestion. And so that's why this stem area. But again, this time of year in the southern hemisphere, with the solstice, the sun being at its highest, then we're playing with having the most heat, most likely. Things are constantly changing on this planet, as I'm sure you're aware. But generally, we're going to have the most heat around this first summer. So it's this launch into summer coming from brightest spring, which is as things are starting to bud. And so then now in first summer, they're really starting to come into life. They're sort of the first crops. And for me, always first summer was about the thrill of being out of school. As much as I love school, there's this launch, this freedom into sort of endless days and being in the sun and the water and smelling the tomatoes from the garden. And what else does the launch of first summer bring for me? I would be curious to know what it brings for you, because I grew up in the northern hemisphere. So first summer for me is on the, a different month. I always have to convert. But what is that? Yeah, what is that feeling? And I think in New Zealand, what I've noticed is that because it's solstice, it's right around also Christmas time, and so then it's public holidays when people are taking a break, and it's the end of the year and into the new year, so there's all of this sort of reckoning, there's this looking back and seeing where have I been, and then looking ahead from that, where do I want to go? So there's a similar kind of process happening in our bodies all the time, with consumption, assimilation, or digestion, and elimination, giving us nourishment. So there's this, this is fun. This is sort of my first interactive, so it's good to see who else is there. Let me see if I can see who's there and say hello. So there's Lucinda, hi, and somebody else. Cool, okay. So the digestive process is greatly aided by movement, circulation. Any of our processes are going to be aided by some level of circulation and movement. So particularly round 2, if you've been doing the practice, then you'll find that round 2, there's a lot of focus on the spinal flex, side to side, twisting. So it's basically you're wringing out this whole area, and each time you wring out the stem, the low back, the belly, the side waist, the digestive system inside. So each ring then makes it more possible to absorb in, just like a sponge that you wring out, and then it can absorb more clearly once you've done that. So it's very similar with our bodies. The more that we have that kind of wringing action, the more we stimulate digestion and move it through. So what else can I tell you? Let's see what my notes say. So then, as well as the stimulation in the core center and the stem, we're focusing on stretching as well as strengthening. So the first round, we do a number of these stretches through the side body and also front to back. And there's sometimes a startling challenge to letting go. You know, it seems like it's too easy, like it's giving up. But being able to move into and breathe into and release into and to, it doesn't sound right to say actively let go, but you know, to be willing to let go is its own sort of challenge. And because you can't do it, you can't make letting go happen. You have to let go of everything. But then that's what's interesting when we're doing this focus on the stem, is how do you let go of the head at the top? If you don't have the core engaged from underneath, then this area is going to be trying to hold it up. So that's part of why we're focusing on the stem so exclusively, because then in fullest summer, when we move on, where we are now actually, is in fullest summer, just like the full heat, the blossoming, coming up into Anahata chakra, or this heart center, moving into heart opening, the 4 doors of the heart. So we continue that kind of movement in the torso to open side door, front door, back door of the heart space. Then the stem serves us because we've strengthened it. So there's this yang energy underneath, just like the stem of a flower. In order for it to blossom, it needs that support underneath. So that's what we're doing here in first summer, a strengthening all the way around. So that then leads into the tricky poses. So if you've moved into round 3 or the culmination, the full flow of the practice, then we spend a lot of time on the ground in this practice in a very embryological or infant development stage of finding our strength again with these movements. Side to side, a little bit of twist, just the way an infant will be lying belly down and start lifting up and rolling over and then on its back. So that's what we're doing here. And it's at the beginning of the year. So it's a new beginning. So it's finding that strength from the core, from the belly button where we plugged into the mother. And then once we disconnect, once that umbilical connection is lost, then we have to plug in our own way. So it's through the nutrition that we take in. It's through how we feed ourselves in other ways. So not just the food that comes in, but what goes into your eyes and your ears and into your skin and into your heart. So many things to say. I'm just going to keep rambling on. And so the core, the strengthening, the digestion, the tricky poses. That's what I wanted to talk to you about. So I might end up having to get up and take the headphones off so I can show you a little bit of what I'm talking about here. But through this sort of infant stage of development of strengthening from the stem and being able to lead from the stem. So when we're doing those Indian push-ups, those wave motions of the body forward and back, we're leading from the belly and the low back and gluteal muscles so that they're minimizing weight in the shoulders. So then once we start to take that up off the ground into down dog, up dog, it's the same thing. How do you lead from the belly and play with that action? So that then when we come into the tricky poses of Parsva Konasana, or intense side body, and Trikonasana, triangle, then we're doing it in a very different way. And I know Sarah in the past has asked me to clarify about this, because a lot of practices, and I have a bunch of books here to reference. So this is one of my first books, an Iyengar book. And you can see that the hand is down on the ground and the feet are really wide. And it's amazing. It's quite impressive. And the same in this anatomy book, which is a great resource because it shows you which muscles are acting and which ones are being acted upon. But again, you can see the hand is on the ground, the feet are pretty wide. And what we're doing is a different version of that. We're not going as wide, and we're radiating from the center stem area like a star out through the arms and out through the legs. And so there's no weight in the hand. And that's a different approach. So people who are accustomed to Trikonasana, where you're putting the hand on the ground, putting weight in the hand, and even leveraging up, which is even better, would need to play in this way of not having weight in the hand and feeling the radiation, the starfish-like radiation from the core, from the center. And then I feel like when you have that, then you can go into any other class where somebody's going to be teaching Trikonasana with much wider feet and with the hand on the ground with that same core integrity. That would be the ideal, is that you can monitor. So hello, Greg and Heather and Sarah. So good to see you guys, sort of virtually. I know you can see me, but I can't see you except for your little faces and your names. But thank you for joining me. If you have any questions, just type them in. And otherwise, I'll just keep babbling for how much more time? It looks like we have about another 5 minutes. So if you have any questions or any comments, say something in the next few minutes. Hi, Greg. Great to see you. And otherwise, one of the other things that I wanted to talk about was why patience is the supreme tapas. And this is apparently a quote from Gautama the Buddha that I was trying to remember it in the traditional language, but I'll leave that for a moment. But essentially this idea that patience, thanks Sarah, yeah, yellow for Manipura, and gold for the sun energy. So patience being the supreme tapas is something I've definitely been experiencing, because when we're talking about fire, if the fire isn't steady, if it doesn't have a steady input of fuel and a steady draw upwards, outwards, then it either goes out or it just blazes up, burns everything up. So there's that balancing, and there's also that balancing within the digestive system between what are called the gunas, the 3 gunas. So rajasic, sattvic, and tamasic. So if our digestive system is rajasic, then it's too fiery. It's burning itself up, might have acid reflux. If it's tamasic, then it's too lethargic, so you might have issues of slower digestion, or issues of digestion in that regard, of not having the necessary fire to make the most of the nourishment. So sattvic then is going to be this balance. And I've just definitely been feeling that with my levels of fire. I am very much a Manipura chakra person, I realize. When I look into it, I am very much about kind of the future vision and about applying the intellect to drawing up. And you had a question, no gallbladder. Sarah, can you write that again? I want to be able to catch it because we only have a few more minutes. But anyway, to finish that thought about the fire, just saying that there's such a skill and an art to cultivating the fire without having it burn out, which I tend to do, being a double fire sign. Then the other thing of not having enough fire. So playing with that. So I'm not sure, Sarah, if you were talking about the systems connected in the digestive system, or you don't have a gallbladder. I'm not sure what the question is, but the pancreas, in terms of the endocrine system, the pancreas is connected here with Manipura chakra, and this is what converts the starches into glucose. So basically, it's the function of making energy out of mass, and that's essentially what we're doing with food, and that's what kind of we're doing with our existence, right? We're here in these bodies for however long we're graced to be here. And then that brings me to the mantra, Sat Nam, which is a big part of this practice. We do it mentally, internally, as well as externally. And it's acknowledging the truth that you are, the existence that you are, which is truth itself. So, digestive system. Okay, yes, Sarah, do you have a specific question about the digestive system? And what else? Anything else that I'm missing? Okay. What can I tell you about the digestive system? Okay, I have some pictures here. I can show you. So here's the digestive system. From the mouth, where am I? Everything's reversed. From the mouth to right there, the end of the small intestine, is about 33 feet. Isn't that amazing? And that yellow thing is the pancreas. And you can see it's situated so where food comes out of the stomach. This is so hard to do backwards. Where food comes out of the stomach. And then right in here in the duodenum is where the pancreas is feeding in the enzymes necessary to convert the food into glucose, into sugars, which is either stored in the liver as glycogen or is distributed and used right away. Oh, okay, I have no gallbladder, so eat little. Often digestion is slow. Yes, well, that makes sense. I mean, the gallbladder, right, is helping to break down the fats. And so I would imagine that maybe you do better when you don't have a lot of high fats. I'm not sure. But I feel like these organs, they have particular intelligences, and they have, there's just an amazing amount of complexity in the human body in general that I'm not going to be able to cover because we are out of time. But I love your questions and I love you all. And if you have any further questions, please feel free to send them in, and maybe we can do some follow-ups, and I can include this in the virtual support, so whatever questions you have. I think that's everything for today. Sat Nam, Namaste, may you be well and happy, and so good to see you all. Yay.